As the relentless shelling of Ukraine continues, a woman who's only just been rescued is attacked again. The widespread Russian airstrikes also destroying buildings and killing civilians in Kyiv. Despite the obvious danger, the Prime Ministers of Poland, Czech Republic and Slovenia have risked their lives to meet with President Zelensky in the embattled capital.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Backing Ukraine to join the EU with a message of unity and support.
We will never leave you alone. We will be with you.
Our countries stand with you. Europe stand with your country.
And together we will prevail. Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini.
The meeting comes as hopes of joining another alliance, NATO, are abandoned in what's been seen as a major concession to Russia.
It's clear that Ukraine is not a member of NATO. We understand it. It's the truth, and it's necessary to admit it.
While Kyiv is under a 35-hour curfew, there's growing concern for the people of Mariupol.
This is an extreme situation of life and death where people are facing impossible choices as to how to feed their families and themselves, and are trapped in this city.
Authorities say Russian forces have entered the city's largest hospital, holding about 400 workers and patients hostage in the basement. 20,000 Mariupol residents have finally been able to flee through a humanitarian corridor, but many more remain trapped.
Hundreds of thousands of people remain without aid today. They are unable to leave the city today, and they are essentially being suffocated in this city right now with no aid and with a dire situation and very much dwindling supplies.
In Lviv, air raid sirens sound as mourners try to farewell their loved ones, killed fighting for their country.
10 News First senior reporter Ursula Hager joins us from Lviv now. Ursula, you were at the funeral we just saw. What was it like?
Well, Waleed, just heartbreaking, really. I think the pain that people are feeling across Ukraine is really very clear. Lviv is quite a long way from the front, although we have seen, obviously, attacks here. But they're still experiencing the pain and the grief, not just of their friends and family that are in other parts of the country, but soldiers, their sons, dying now. And you could see the entire area around the church was filled with people who had just seen that it was going on and just stood there all in silence. It really is very moving, but also incredibly sad. These are mothers losing their children, and there was one moment there where a mother just leaned down to the casket and whispered something to her son, and it's those kind of moments that really bring this home to everyone.
Well, peace talks are obviously top of everyone's mind, and it's a pretty big concession from Zelensky to say that Ukraine won't join NATO. Do you think that's enough to end the war?
Well, it might be, because you've got to remember this is obviously not going very well for Vladimir Putin either. So, obviously they have been surprised by Ukraine's defence here, by how hard they're fighting. They expected this war to be over in just a few days. We're now on day 21, and it doesn't appear that they're making a huge amount of ground. The only city that they control is Kherson. The rest are fighting. So we could see months and months and months on end of this kind of insurgency fighting going on. This was a big issue for Russia, that sort of encroachment from the West to their borders. So this may be enough for Vladimir Putin to save face at home and give him an out as well.
The leaders of 3 European countries visited Kyiv today. Can you tell us more about what that purpose was, I guess?
Well, that's an interesting move, isn't it? Given that NATO has repeatedly refused to patrol a no-fly zone despite repeated requests from Ukraine, it was interesting that 3 NATO member countries went there during a war zone. It is not safe in this country at the moment. We do not know where the shelling is coming. I think there's around 800 rockets a day hitting Ukraine, and yet these 3 leaders, these 3 prime ministers went to Kyiv to meet with him. So it's somewhat of a symbolic gesture, but certainly one that I think would have been appreciated.
Ursula, we appreciate your contribution. Thank you so much for speaking to us tonight.
Thank you.